Today, I thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit about my most recent trip to Paris. As many of you know, I've been to Paris before and have photographed and recorded the archive records that were in the head office in Paris. These are a collection of about 189 books which record all the production of SELMER Paris instruments from 1926 through to about 2005. It's amazing information in these archives. They show the type of instrument, when it was sold, who it was sold to, and details about the production. But the problem with these archives is they only cover instruments that left the factory, were sold through the distribution center, and then on out to retailers. So there I have about 687,000 records, but there's over 20,000 blank lines. So 20,000 instruments were either not built or were built and sold without coming through the distribution center, and of course there can be clerical errors and the such. So now let's go to about 5 years ago. Somebody online had posted that he bought a saxophone, and included with the saxophone was a page from the archive records. And he posted the picture of the page, and I took a look at it and quickly realized this is not the same archive records that I've been looking at. And so it hit me, there must be some other records. So I immediately contacted SELMER Paris and was originally told, oh no, we don't know if there's any other records. But about a year later, I got a call and they said, oh, there's some books at the factory that you might be interested in. So that was the main motivation for this trip, to come back, visit the factory, and see what's what with these books. So to put it quite bluntly, these archives were very exciting. I was expecting to see some saxophone books. There were actually 57 books in total, covering brass, woodwind, and obviously saxophone production. So these records start a little later than the Paris records. They appear to start about serial number 25,300, so that's in the middle of the 30s. And these records were done at the factory. So they do have some of the same information. They show the serial number. They show what type of instrument it is, an alto or a tenor, and any features like a F-sharp key or a low A key or such. But what is really interesting is these archives show information that the other archives do not show. They show up until the end of the Mark VI era, the instruments were essentially assembled by one person and finished by one other person. So these archives show the name of the person who finished each instrument, the name of the person who assembled each instrument, and then the date that it left the factory. So it would leave the factory for the most part on the way to come to the distribution center in Paris. But just looking at the very first page of the archive records, I compared them to the Paris archives. On the Paris archives, those same serial numbers, I had 7 blank lines just on that one page. Well, 6 of those 7 blank lines had full information in the factory archives. So I have now photographed all the factory archives. It was just shy of about 15,000 pages of information. And now the work begins as I have to go back home and start data entering and comparing and studying it. But just on that very first page, to go from 7 blank lines to only 1 blank line in the factory archives. So I checked the next page. It happened also to have 7 blank lines in the Paris archives and only 1 blank line in the factory archives. So I'm very excited to report that over the next months or potentially a year or two, I should be able to add another, hopefully 20,000 SELMER saxophones to my archive records in order to be able to give information on them. And that's just the saxophones. There's also 11 books of clarinet information, and there were 7 books of brass information, mostly trumpets, but the full range of brass. So needless to say, these new archives just create a whole new world of work for me, a whole new world of potential information once I get it out there, and it's very, very exciting. So my main purpose to come to Paris was to look at the archives. And the crazy thing is I found so much more, but that's a story for another visit. I hope to be coming back very soon, and another video. There will be lots more to report.